I mean, I think reconciliation is a lot of things, and it's no one thing, and it's not a point or a place, it's a journey. The community was destroyed in 1921, rebuilt to a greater degree in the early to mid 1940s. Teachers at Booker T. Washington High School, many of them had advanced degrees. They had master's degrees or PhDs. And it was such an exceptional school, even in an era of segregation in which they were given, for example, hand-me-down resources like books and so forth. One of the things that happened after the massacre was a commitment on the part of Black Tulsans to rebuild the community. They were aided by groups like the NAACP in New York City who sent contributions here. They faced a lot of barriers to the rebuilding from the City Commission, from the Chamber of Commerce, from the mayor himself, T.D. Evans. Part of what happened as a result of the massacre is this gulf of distrust. Even when we open things up more generally, the power and the privilege still resided in the dominant culture or in white people. We have change in the ownership of land in this community. We didn't strike a balance when we did the integration process. It was more of a desegregation process, which means we bring these two races together, we desegregate them. But integration means this: there's equity in the mix, not just throwing people together. So because Black people couldn't engage with the larger economy, they had to engage with one another in a cooperative, collaborative way and support one another financially. So they were so intent on rebuilding the community that they did it to an extent that the community exceeded what it had been prior to its destruction, peaking in the 1940s. So the question arises as to whether or not going to court over something is a viable strategy in terms of this notion of reparations. This discussion really came about in the early 2000s when there was a lawsuit filed seeking reparations for some of the survivors. And reparations was really defined as cash payments to living individuals who were survivors, who were alive during the massacre. And the litigation was halted because of what's called statute of limitations, meaning that the claims, according to the court, should have been brought earlier, and because they weren't, they were barred. They couldn't go forward. Litigation, by definition, creates an adversarial relationship. It creates one side versus the other side. So if the end is what's best for the community going forward, then litigation may not be the best strategy, even if we decide that cash payments to particular individuals are warranted. The state needs to be involved, elected leaders need to be involved. Maybe the legislative process is the best route because it's a process that by definition leads more to collegiality. But if I were going to emphasize involvement, I would stress to individuals that individuals need to be involved. What is the route most likely to achieve our ultimate aim? We have to have compassion and empathy and make apology where appropriate. And we have to strategically think about what we can do to make it better.